Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to creators from all over the world and we find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote channel, and our guest on this episode is indie comic creator, and this is one of the most unique and coolest names that belongs on a marquee anywhere in the world. Braxton Cosby is in the building. Yeah. Hello, Braxton. Good to see you. How you doing?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here, good sir. Now, if you have any questions for Braxton as we go throughout the course of this program, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. Do not forget to like and share this with every single person that you know. And if you're joining us live or what is known as a replay, thank you so much for doing that. With that piece of business out of the way, Braxton, how or when were you introduced to the world of comics?
Sunday Funnies. I'll date myself. Yeah, that's when it all started for me. And then after that, I just started picking up actual what they call floppies nowadays, actually looking at them. So, yeah, didn't grow up in the digital world. So everything was paper, everything was contact. So it was nice having something to kind of fold and read through. And then we used to have the Sunday Funnies of our own in the newspaper too. So I would see those small little columns, maybe like six frames, and that was it.
Wow, I never thought I would hear that. Sunday Funnies. Boy, I didn't think you look a day over 25. Maybe I'm not seeing all the angles here. Sorry. But it's all good. We all discover it in our own way, man. It's okay. There's no harm, no foul, no shame, man. No shame. Favorite comic book writers or artists? Any names stand out to you?
Oh man, there's so many people. Obviously, I mean, we go with Stan Lee, but I do like Bob Kane too. I'm a huge Batman fan and Wolverine. Those are my two favorites. If I went DC, it'd be Batman. If I went Marvel, it'd be Wolverine.
Ooh, extraordinary stuff. Extraordinary stuff. Which segues into our next question here. What are some of your favorite comic book-based movie or TV series, past or present?
I love what Nolan did with the Batman series, the trilogy. I thought that was really well done. I am a fan of Zack Snyder. I actually liked what he did. I like the darker kind of version of storytelling. It started all the way back with me was The Watchmen. I thought The Watchmen was well done. And then when he kind of took over the reins with DC, with Batman and the Justice League, I thought that was good. I liked all of it. I really loved what he did with his the Snyder cut on the Justice League. I really, really enjoyed that. So yeah. And obviously, I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. That was actually between them and the X-Men. That was really what I liked with Marvel. So I think it's been serviceable. I haven't really had, any one of those movie series like really like draw me in and say, man, this was amazing. So I'm really excited to see what they do going forward. I feel I like that the fact that Hugh Jackman has done a fantastic job with Wolverine. Excited that he's still going to stay on. So now I'm just kind of wondering. Days of Future Past are probably my favorite X-Men movie. I could have stamped on any one of them that I thought was done really well. So hopefully we can kind of just move forward with that and keep, delivering to the fans, really.
For sure, yeah, and I'm in total agreement. I mean, outside of the spin-off movies, whether it's the Deadpools, the Logans, the Wolverine spin-off films, whatever, all that stuff that happened outside of it, the best X-Men movie we ever got up to this point is, in fact, Days of Future Past. I don't care what anyone... Listen, I love the OG from 2000. I love X2, X-Men United. Those two are fantastic, right? There's no doubt. Right. But Days of Future Past did something that everyone thought was impossible and made it possible. When you take two different generations of X-Men cast/characters and mash them together in one film, which involves time travel, so it kind of makes sense.
Right.
It's brilliant. What they did with that. I mean, whether you're watching the theatrical cut or the road cut, doesn't matter. Both cuts of that film are just chef's kiss, as one might say. You know, and I'm a massive. This is coming from someone who's a massive X-Men because I grew up like some of us may have. You know, not to date myself here, but there's a little thing called 1992, and this is a little thing called X-Men the Animated Series with an iconic theme song that's still going. 30 plus, that's right. 30 plus years later, brother. Yeah, Fox Kids was my jam. I watched literally pretty much anything and everything on that network at one point, right? Because you had X-Men, you had Batman, you had Spider-Man, you had Power Rangers, you had VR Troopers, you had you know, all these other characters, all these other properties that were on that channel, on that network at the time anyway. And it worked. That was my introduction to Spider-Man, right? That was my introduction to the X-Men. I had no idea who these characters were until the animated series showed up in the great decade. And it was the 1990s. Yeah. So X-Men's brilliant. I love it. I'm curious to see what they're going to do now with what's going on with the MCU, but I don't see it holding a candle to Days of Future Past, but we'll see.
Yeah.
They can try, but they probably will fail. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse, but you know, I am a Days of Future Past loyalist. And the other thing is, you brought this up earlier. I was a fan of a lot of things. Maybe not all of it. I thought some things could have been changed, but from the most part, Zack Snyder's vision of what could have been the DC, man, it was different. It was a different direction. It was dark. It was gritty, which is what I like. Hero film. I don't like this jokey thing every 2 seconds.
I tell you,
but Man of Steel, I saw theater. I saw 5 times. 5 times. Love it. Henry Cavill got the short end of the stick during his, in my opinion. He should have gotten 3 or 4 movies before they even landed on a BVS.
Easily.
Woman movie or whatever else was going on. Like, you need to plant the seeds before you just shove them all down our throats. But that wasn't Zach's fault necessarily. That was behind the scenes, studio interference, executives wanting to get their bonuses. It's like, oh, we need to catch up to Marvel. No, you don't. No, you don't. Take your time. Build up the universe. Don't just give us 6 movies and 6 characters in one movie. Don't do that ever. You know. But yeah, Man of Steel is great. And by the way, just out of curiosity though, what do you think James Gunn's going to do with it? With the Superman trailer that dropped this week? What are your thoughts?
I was excited in the trailer. I can't lie. I didn't know what to expect. I like James Gunn as far as a storyteller.
Yeah.
When I looked at Guardians of the Galaxy, I noticed he is a themester. He stays with one kind of theme throughout. If I was to judge him, he seems to have daddy issues. So all of his stories are daddy issues. Even if you look at what's the one he did with the I forgot the name, the wrestler, the TV show.
Oh, Young Rock, maybe?
No. The wrestler is playing a character on DC now. And
you mean Batista?
No, he has the eagle. You know.
I'm sorry. You mean John Cena?
Yes, John Cena.
Yeah, Peacemaker. Yeah.
He's got daddy issues in there too. So he's staying with this daddy issue theme, you know. And I'm hoping that we don't have daddy issue theme again with Superman in some way, you know.
Yeah, because he has 2 dads. He has Jor-El, but then he also has, Jonathan, which we saw a shot of Jonathan Kent in that trailer when Clark was consoling him on the porch at the Kent farm, which people have suspected that maybe the twist on this iteration of Superman is that Martha dies instead of Jonathan, because that's why he's consoling Jonathan.
Right.
Which could be the case. I don't know. I don't want to draw too much into that because it's just one clip from one trailer. And trailers are flashing images and movements and all this kind of stuff. But I'm curious to see where they go with it a little bit because the guy who's playing Clark Kent / Kal-El looks good. I think he looks good. I think Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane looks good in the trailer. And boy, when they make out, man, those 2 make out hard in that trailer. Like Lois, did you see what they were doing in that makeout scene? I'm like, damn, they are going hard on this.
They're selling it.
I mean, they're selling the L plus the C equals lovemaking part. I'll tell you that much, brother. I'm curious to see where that goes. But yeah, look, this is funny though, because I am not a James Gunn fan at all, but I am curious because Superman's my number 1 of all time. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this iteration of the character because the suit's different. The look of it everything in this world is different because they have to separate themselves from what Zack Snyder did. You got to put something new on this. And then you got Crypto in there, which I didn't mind Crypto in that one scene he was in because he's like, take me home. Take me home. I'm like, okay, clearly you're trying to get Crypto to take you back to the fortress so you can recharge your batteries. Or maybe take you to a place where the sun is shining just a little bit brighter. Because you are charged by the sun. Let's not forget. So maybe Crypto took him for a walk. I don't know.
Well, so in writing, you usually... People, like I say, when I say themesters, meaning like you kind of can get the idea of a writer over and over again. That's what they do. Nolan likes time travel. He likes these time movies. Everything's about time and changing time, and it gets a little monotonous after a while. But when I look at somebody like James Gunn, he has the father figure issues, and he has a cute character. And what I mean by that is normally when you're writing and you want fans or readers, viewers to engage in the character, I made up this thing called anchoring them to humanity. So you give them something that even as badass as they are, as super as they are, as amazing as they are, that's a little untouchable for most people because everybody has flaws, right? Some people accept them more than others. So if you give them something that can anchor them to humanity, you'll end up liking them more. So for instance, Peacemaker, he's got the bird. We like that. The bird is cute. He's the eagle and everything. We have Baby Groot. We had Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy. That anchored everybody in that cast to humanity, especially Rocket. And of course, now you have Crypto. So when you're looking at this trailer, all of a sudden, he's obviously been in a fight. He's gotten his butt whipped. And all of a sudden he whistles and then Crypto shows up and everybody goes, oh, so it's a nice little gimmick to make you say, okay, I can connect to Superman. So I wanted to see how much further he goes with it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it has my curiosity. I'm looking to see what happens with trailer number 2 to give us more of an idea of what the actual story is and not just moving flashy images. With the theme song, clearly they're paying nod to John Williams with that electric guitar playing during the first trailer. So
he is a part of it, from what I understand. He did do it.
Wow.
So they said his name was on the poster.
No kidding. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, JW almost pushing 105, and the guy's still kicking. But we love you, John. We always have. We always will. And the Superman theme is iconic in so many different ways. So let's give credit where credit is due. But Hans Zimmer, you did a great job too, man. I'm not going to forget about Hans Zimmer. No. He made an epic, just giant, massive masterpiece of music with Man of Steel, in my opinion. But anyway, sorry, I could talk about Super Loop all day long, but we got to focus on Braxton because Braxton's the guest of honor tonight. He's the big winner tonight in more ways than one. On this episode, should I say, and I quote more specifically, do not forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you're joining us on a live or on a replay, thank you for doing that. And if you have any questions for Braxton, because he's the man of the hour and the man with all the power, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat and all that good jazz. So outside of comic book movies or TV series, what made you decide to become an indie comic book writer?
So I'm the CEO of Cosby Media Production, which is our small press publishing company. Since 2014, we published over 30 authors with 60 different titles in ebook, audiobooks, and paperbacks. We also decided to take on the crazy endeavor of creating our own superhero universe back then. I credit 2 of our main writers because we've had 6 writers contribute 18 novels, and we're up to 5 comic books in that whole superhero universe. But I credit Keyshawn Dodds, who brought over his Menzuo series. At that point, he had written 2 books initially. And when he gave them back to us to publish them, we kind of gave him a nice little spit and polish, kind of cleaned up a little bit with some of the writing and the content and really kind of made it shine. And so he brought it on. Also, Kyle Champion had another series that he had written called Majesties of Canaan. And so I kind of jumped in there, was like, oh, man, I need to put together a superhero series. Now, granted, when I was back in middle school, I created my own superhero group, which I haven't even brought out yet. Funny, ironically enough. And I kind of just made my own little 5-page comic with some friends of mine. I was more of an artist back then. Now I am wise enough to hand it off to people with a much higher skill set than myself to do these comic books. But so I was like, hey, I'll jump back in again. At this point, I'd already written like maybe I'd probably finished Starcross Saga, my trilogy, my sci-fi romance trilogy for young adult. And I wanted to jump into something where I can get boys more actively reading. So at that point, superhero genre was really booming. I jumped in, got my feet wet, and I said, hey, let's just do this whole shared universe of superhero storytelling of our own. So I got with those guys. Then we later on recruited a couple other great writers, Lawrence St. John, with his Metatron series, and Daniel Payton with his Bark series. And we just kind of started referencing each other in our stories, where we were all a part of the universe, but we hadn't really crossed over yet. And then that first official crossover came with Infinity 7, which is our like Avengers Assemble which I co-wrote with Keyshawn and Kyle, and we brought all our characters together in that first book called Gods Among Men. And then that kind of trickled off into, that's right when we started penning our comic books. And the idea was, when we got together as a group, we were like, man, okay, so we're going to rewrite comic books based on our novels. I said, no, let's go forward thinking. Let's add to what we're doing. So where I may have had books 1 and 2 of my Cape series, the superhero series that I wrote, I wanted to write book 3 of the series as a comic book. And it fit perfectly right in between what we were doing with Infinity 7. So if you looked at my series as a whole, or anybody who was connected to the Infinity 7 series, you would see book 1 of the Cape, book 2 Overdrive, book 3, because those characters are in that crossover, Infinity 7 Gods Among Men is book 3. Book 4 would be my comic book Hellfire, which was illustrated by the amazing Bruno Abdias. He actually does the Cyborg series for DC now. And then it would be bookended with Infinity 7 book 2, which is War of the Gods. And that actually closed out our Dark Spores series, which basically kind of just tells the whole story in a nutshell of how these characters in Chicago, a story of the superheroes of the Cape, how these people got their superpowers, start dealing with these dark spores. And that trickled into some things that had happened in Majesty of Canaan. So it's a lot of great, great storytelling all in one area. And again, I went ahead and wrote second issue of the Cape, which is now the Fabulous Five, which introduced a whole new team of youngsters who are a part of under the Cape umbrella. And now Paladin, who was the main character in the Cape series, is now kind of mentoring them and bringing them along. And in that, we now have the opportunity. I brought in Bark, so we're starting to cross the characters over into the superhero comic books, which was really, really exciting. So we just want to keep weaving in these stories, bringing characters in and out, crossing over, teaming up. And that way people have a nice, rich world to play around in the independent, small press space, you know, if they're tired of just the same old with the big dogs out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And congratulations on all that in the span of 10 or so years. I mean, gosh, I mean, Kevin Feige, eat your heart out. Look at this guy. Look what he's doing. Goodness gracious. He's had the Infinity Gauntlet on his arm and his hand for a awfully long time, Kevin, probably longer than you, son.
Right.
So check yourself before you wreck yourself. What would you say are some of the rewards about being an indie comic writer?
You know, you'd be surprised. Some of the great things, obviously, is that we can kind of do what we want to do. We're not really relegated to any types of rules, you know, in the indie space. One thing I do see a lot when we go to our conventions that we go through, about maybe 6 or 7 conventions a year, and we meet people. The really, really cool thing is that a lot of people are longing for the indie stuff. They're saying, oh, you know, I'm already tired of X, Y, and Z, and what they're doing is the same stories over and over again. So they're looking for these fresh stories. So it gives us an opportunity, whether we're telling stories in novels or comic books. And by the way, we consider ourselves a hybrid publisher because we tell our stories in both novels, audiobooks, and comics. So we kind of give you a little bit of everything when it comes to our storytelling. And it gives us the freedom to kind of have that autonomy to do what we want. And people can kind of come in and just partake in whatever we're offering. So we know we're not closed off by any means. And the people who tell our story, we feel like we've got some great stories. We feel like we're just trying to curate what these fantastic authors and writers are doing. And that way we offer something that is a little off the beaten path, but fresh enough that people will kind of identify and connect with, because at the end of the day, we're telling superhero stories. And the whole premise or creation of 3-act structure, which I'm a huge stickler on. I write it in my screenplays. I write it with my novels. Also use it to write comic books. It's 3-act structure. It's the hero's journey. It's the beginning. We introduce the protagonist. We have some inciting an incident that takes them on the journey. And then along the way, that character has to change to become powerful enough to beat that antagonist, whatever that entity is, by the end of the book, end of the comic, end of the movie. So when we talk about superhero stories, I feel like for the most part, even if you're not dealing with superheroes, you're still telling a hero's story because it's the hero's tale. It's the Odyssey back in the day. It's all of that. One of my favorite stories, if people really want to look at kind of perfect 3-act structure, and I'm looking at the movie again recently with my kids, was The Karate Kid. You know, if you really look at that, man, that is like a perfect framework of 3-act structure. You know, you got Ralph Macchio's character in the beginning. He fish out of water, trying to realize where he is. He has an inside incident where he gets beat up. He wants to learn karate. He learns from the sensei and, you know, with Mr. Miyagi, and then he finally trains up just enough to be able to defeat his challenger at the end. And that also coincided with the B story, which is the romance story that he has. So, I mean, perfect example. I'm sitting there watching this thing like I had seen it years and years ago. I'm like, oh my God, this is like perfect. But this is exactly what the hero's journey is about. And people who kind of hit their marks on writing when they get all those perfect beats in their stories, I think they really have something to offer audiences where they're kind of just being spoon-fed everything they need to really cut their teeth on that story and enjoy it. And then at the end, of course, having the reward and the payoff, which is so important when we talk about writing, giving people the payoff they were either expecting or even opposite, but still, even if the story doesn't end the way you want, did you still get something gratifying out of it? And I think when we're in the indie space, we can continue to have these same rules that govern us, but play in and out of those rules as we want, as long as we're still delivering on the expectations of the readers.
My goodness, man. Bringing up Karate Kid, Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Never dies. I haven't seen the new season yet, so don't tell me anything, but I will say this. I will say this because I've rewatched Karate Kid a lot in the last couple of years because I may have seen it when to be honest with you, I never saw the original until a couple of years ago for the first time, and I realized how great of a movie this is, and the soundtrack is iconic. Bananarama, Cruel Summer, get out of here. And Elizabeth Shue, who everybody had a crush on back in the heyday, which, by the way, Elizabeth, you age like a fine wine, honey. 40 years later, you still look mighty fine, Elizabeth. I'm just going to say it, all right? I'll be the first one to admit it, but I'll tell you straight up. And The Karate Kid is a great film, period. So if you haven't seen it, you don't know what it is. Look at everybody now who's obsessed with Cobra Kai. It's because it draws from the original. Yes, there were 4 movies, not just 3.
Right.
All right, because I'm hoping that Hilary Swank shows up in Cobra Kai at some point, because Hilary Swank, no matter what you say, there is a Karate Kid 4. It's called The Next Karate Kid. So bring in Julie-san, all right? Bring in Julie-san, and let's bring everything we got full circle, you know, because the trailer for Karate Kid Legends came out recently.
Did you see that?
I saw the trailer, and I'm like,
excited?
dang, look at Jackie Chan, man. He's got the gray hair like Miyagi did, you know. Ralph Macchio is... You know, he seems to age pretty well, Ralph Macchio. He doesn't see, you know, he
looks great. Yeah, absolutely. He's done
they both look great. And then, you know, what is it? Jackie Chan has a new student now that he's working with because no one wants to talk about that other guy from the 2010 remake that never happened. And, you know, especially nowadays when I've seen the original, now I know why people are so defensive when it comes to the 84 version. So it's like everything's coming full circle. Karate Kid Legends looks fantastic. I think Cobra Kai is one of the best written, produced, acted shows in the last 20 years. I'm gonna buy. I've rented the seasons. I have seasons 1 and 2 that were combined as one set when it came out on physical media. I own that, but now I just need to get 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah. So I'm excited. I've seen 5 seasons of the 6, but Cobra Kai, and I have 2 Cobra Kai shirts, Braxton. So I got some cred here. I got some. All right.
You've earned your rights to talk about
I have, and you know what's funny? Because on the Cobra Kai shirt at the very bottom it says Sensei Lawrence.
Oh,
Johnny Lawrence. That's right. Yeah. No. Kreese isn't the sensei. No. Johnny Lawrence is the real sensei. Yeah. You're going to teach me karate? No. I'm not going to be your teacher. I'm going to be your sensei. Boom. There you go. Great marketing, guys. Yeah. That's a great example, man. That's fantastic. I love it. And it's great that you bring up the 3-act structure, because I work with a program where I work with undergrad students in college and autistic participants. I'm working at a place facilitating programs for autistic adults, but the undergrads are getting their service learning hours at that point. So, and one of the lessons I had this semester was the 3-act structure and the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell.
Man, wonderful stuff.
See, I'm doing it right. It was my first stab at teaching, and I seem to be doing everything right when it comes to 3-act structures and Joseph Campbell's hero's journey.
Yeah.
See, if you were in my class, if you were monitoring me in the back of the classroom, you'd be like, "Oh, this dude's got it. He has a handle on it." Yeah. I'm curious. Maybe we'll fly in over here in Maryland. We'll have you sit down and look at one of our courses.
Oh, wait, Maryland's a great place.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm in Maryland, East Coast. So if you're ever in Maryland, look me up. But you and I can talk about it off camera. But outside of that, Flip side of the coin, though, biggest challenges about being an indie comic writer. What do you think?
I mean, just people trust, it's trust. When you're trying to sell a product, it's about trust. If you pick this up, will you enjoy it? B, will it have the quality? Will it have longevity? I know a lot of people always ask me, is this part 1? Is there a part 2? Is there a part 3? What's coming next? So they want to know if they're going to start that journey with you, will they be able to be taken to another place, a year or 2 from now? And that's what we've really tried to do. One, we try to give people a quality product, which we feel is at what I call the industry standard, whether it's formatting, whether it's cover designs, the book, does it feel the right way in your hand? What's the typeset? All those types of things. And of course, it comes down to the story. Is the story unique? Does it follow a certain structure? Can you enjoy it? And is there going to be a commitment to go further, right? Like nobody wants to just date just to be dating for one day. They want to know how much further they're going to go in this relationship. So we want to build a relationship. We want to connect with our readers, and we want to develop that readership and that viewership for some of the things that we're doing. So our commitment is that, hey, if we're putting it out here for you to pick up and read and share with your friends, we want everybody to come back. We want you to know what's next. So that's why all of our comics in the back, we have like a little QR code where you can scan. It'll take you to our website, and it'll kind of say, hey, if you got the comic book of Steel Rain, which is my Bounty Hunter series, and the comic book is basically the jump off point for Steel Rain's journey. How do I get the novel now? Well, funny you asked that. Here's the comic Steel Rain, and in the back, like I said, you can just scan that QR code, and you'll see the book for the novel right there. So, like I said, hybrid publishing. We've got the novel that goes with the comic. You read the comic book, and you jump right into Steel's journey going forward in book 1. So that's what we want to do. We want people to trust. Build a relationship, and just know that, hey, when you pick up a book from one of our novelists on the Cosby Media Production side, our imprint, Star Child Comics, if you get the comic book that goes along with that, you're really, really buying into something special at an affordable price. And you'll be able to say, hey, man, this is a great story that I started on. What's next? And you'll hear from us to say, yeah, we got another one coming down the pipe. Already started working on the script for Steel Rain issue 2. That's going to take his journey much further into Proxima Centauri. That connects my characters from the Starcross Saga, which was my trilogy that I wrote. And then also we'll be working on the next iteration of this girl behind me, Kisa from Broken. Right now, book 1 is the novel. Book 2 is the comic book. And book 3 is the graphic novel. The comic book's 27 pages. The graphic novel is 62 pages. Those are out, and I'm already working on the novella, which is going to come out next summer. So we just had a great book signing at Barnes & Noble over here at Mall of Georgia for Broken, and we sold out of all our copies. So we got a whole bunch of new readers that have joined in the journey for Kisa and the control of the world again against the oppression of the establishment. With 3 factions, we got Ashers, which are basically mindless zombies. We have Hoarders, which are wild people who kind of ravage the land for resources. And we've got the Establishment, which is a military conglomerate that has invoked slavery once again, because after the bomb drops in a nuclear threat, money means absolutely nothing anymore, but people become currency. So now it's just a class-based system of trading people for goods and services. And Kisa is trying to survive, and she is joining the resistance as what we call a young Hellion. So if you haven't picked it up and you like dystopian fiction, Broken is definitely one of my favorite stories that I've written so far.
That's something else. Man, congratulations on all that. That's fantastic. Having the signing of Barnes & Noble, one of the biggest names in bookstores in the world. I mean, bn.com. People visit the site. People go to signings all the time. People go to Barnes & Noble like it's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's like 31 flavors. Baskin Robbins is where you want to be. Well, in this case, it's BNN or Barnes & Noble. Hashtag non-sponsor of this show. But if they want to be, call me maybe. I don't know. If you want to call me, I mean, you got our number. You know my email address. And if you don't, let me know, and I'll send it over your way. Gee whiz. Slide into those DMs, why don't you?
Please.
I know. Please. No, sit for real. Let's go. But, congratulations on all that, because seriously, I mean, hearing all this and the plans you've had or the plans you do have and things moving forward and all this other jazz, I mean, this is what we got to say to you about that.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah!
Great segue.
You're, you know, we aim to please and we love pop culture references on this program, which we hope that you who are watching or listening to this program known as And I Quote are enjoying with Braxton Cosby, the guest of honor, the man with all the power, on this episode. Do not forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you're joining this live or on a replay, thank you for doing that. And if you have any questions for Braxton, please, by all means, drop them in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We're more than happy to hear from you as we go throughout the course of this program. So what pieces of advice would you offer to aspiring writers out there?
The same advice I always give. I do a lot of panels at these conventions that I go to. I've done some on the anatomy of a villain, kind of breaking down all the different 13 villain archetypes that are most popular in storytelling. I've also done 3-act structure. Of course, I've talked about transcribing novels into comics, which is what we do here. My biggest piece of advice, though, because I run into a lot of aspiring writers, make sure you have an outline. If you do not have an outline, you do not have a story. I don't care what you think. If you think you're going to just keep going in and popping in a new chapter off of an idea, you're going to be running in place. You need an outline because you need something that's going to set up these beats from Act 1 all the way through Act 3. You need a beginning and an end. You need a middle, which is your filler, all your big action sequences, all the things that happen. Doesn't necessarily have to be, if you're writing a romance, rom-com, the action piece is the getting it on. It's the chasing. It's the man trying to get the woman. It's the woman trying to get the man. It's whomever trying to get whoever. All those things that bring those characters closer, that's your Act 2. That's really all the beef. You've got to have that together. And unless you outline that, you are really going to be you're like a dog chasing its tail. So make sure you have an outline, if nothing else. And once you get that, man, you're cooking with gas. You're ready to go. You can plug in each one of those little chapters, say, hey, come up with a theme of the chapter. What are we trying to tackle in this chapter from the beginning to end? Once you've done that, you finish. Robert McKee, wonderful book called Story that I read through. And he says that once you've accomplished the goal of the story, the movie, the novel, the comic needs to end. And there's nothing more annoying to me when I know what the objective of the main character is as I'm seeing the story unfold, and we get that, and the character accomplishes that goal, and the story still goes on. For some reason, it still moves forward. And I sit and I'm anxious now. I'm in the movie theater. I'm going, what are we still looking at? He's already accomplished. She's already accomplished. We need to move on. And so just make sure that you have those points in place, and the outline is going to help you bring that, because once you bring closure to what happens in Act 3, we need to stop. There's no Act 3.5, You may get on me about this, but I'm going to go ahead and put this out here, Ryan. The new Batman with
Are you talking about R. Pats, Robert Pattinson?
Mm-hmm.
The shiny vampire who used to be a shiny vampire, but now he's a Dark Knight for a 3.5-hour movie?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
My problem with that movie, my only real problem, was it didn't end when it was supposed to. And I feel like if they had just switched the ending, because he does this big thing. He gets the Riddler, and then he goes on this journey to go save all these people when everything's flooding at the end. I feel like they had switched that, and then he actually apprehended the Riddler, and they put the Riddler in jail, and we actually see this. I don't know if this is going to be the real Joker. I don't know who this character is, but they said it was hinting that it might be the Joker. If we had done that, the movie would honestly been brilliant, in my opinion. But the fact that they changed that, where honestly his objective was already accomplished, and now we're just going to string this other stuff along just to give him a nice little cool set piece where he's all wet and everybody else is wet. I don't understand it. But, that was my biggest judgment about that story. And it's just annoying.
I can understand that. Yeah, it's a really good movie. But yeah, because after the movie was over, I thought, dude, 20, 30 minutes easily could have been trimmed from this.
See?
Easily, if not 40. Because they dragged this out with that, what do you call it? Not the stadium, but the arena sequence breaking down, the floods coming in, the water's coming in. He's fighting 3 dudes on the, what do you call it, the upper reaches of the rafters, like Sting and WCW back in the Monday Night Wars. Yeah. So it's like, come on, man. Like, we don't, this movie easily could have been 30, 40 minutes shorter, and it still would have been a great movie. Period. And I thought it was really good. I'm looking forward to what Matt Reeves is going to bring us. I mean, I heard the Penguin show did really well on Max recently, which I heard good things about. I haven't seen it. Don't tell me. Don't spoil it. But yeah, looking forward to the Batman Part 2, or whatever Matt Reeves is going to call it, whether it's Batman Returns 2.0. Well, you can't because Burton already used that title. But
I would call it Batman's Here.
yeah, Batman's here, or Batman is back, or something, or maybe Batman Part 2. I don't know. Call it the Batman Part 2, which is probably what you should call it. I don't know,
Right.
to differentiate yourself from other sequels that have come out focusing on that character, because we've had Batman Returns, we've had The Dark Knight, we've had Batman Begins. It's like, okay, you got to differentiate yourself. Okay, differentiate yourself. But yeah, good movie. Look forward to seeing what Reeves does, because he killed it with the Apes franchise. Good Lord, did that guy do well. Apes 2 and Apes 3. Oh my gosh. Oh, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes turned 10 this year, which is insane to think about. But yeah,
Wow,
Reeves,
that's crazy.
you go from Apes on Horses to A Dark Knight. I mean, that's a pretty good track record, man. Seriously, that's good stuff.
He's fearless.
Matt Reeves is definitely fearless. I will give him that for sure, with the introduction of Penguin and Riddler, and a younger iteration of Catwoman, played by Lenny Kravitz's little itty bitty little girl daughter. I'm like, dang. This is a new Catwoman. This is interesting. She's got a bit of a half mask, like bank robbery mask on her. I don't know what she's trying to pull.
She was gorgeous. I liked it. It was great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the sequel, if it ever gets here. Good Lord, they've delayed
know.
that thing. They've delayed it like 60 billion times.
When they start doing this, I lose interest. I'm sorry. It's like I'm losing interest in the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And I thought those first two were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're saying 26. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah, this thing's.
I mean, come on, Sony, get it together. You guys got way too much money with PlayStation to be doing this nonsense.
That's a valid point. As someone who grew up playing PS1 and PS2, yeah, we should know they made money, and they still do. They make mad money. So Sony, get with it, guys. Get off your high horse for a minute. Gee whiz, we could talk about these characters all night. But just out of curiosity, though, because you mentioned it earlier, Broken, the Young Hellion series, book 1. So just what exactly, in other words, elevator pitch, and how did this all come about?
All right. So year 2035, all-out nuclear war. Somebody pushed the button. We don't know who started. We don't know how it ended. We just know that over 70% of the human population, well, the whole population of the world, plant, animal, human, gone. What remains, people go to the coastlines for fresh water and resources to try to survive. This military conglomerate called the establishment comes to play, and they basically start enslaving people based on a class system. If you don't have resources, you are a slave. Doesn't matter ethnicity, gender, sex, the whole 9 yards. You are a slave. Young girl named Kisa down here in Savannah, Georgia, 16-year-old, has now become a surrogate parent to her younger brother, Kieran, who's 11 years old, and they're in a slave pod. They've broken things up into precincts, which are run by magistrates, and bigger conglomerates called the judges run those, like 2 or 3 precincts. So this is done all over the world. And Kisa is really fed up with just the way her life has gone, can't find her parents. Obviously, a 16-year-old with all this responsibility. The world sucks, and she really wants to kill herself. But she doesn't do it because she knows that she'd be leaving Kieran behind, and who knows what would happen to him. So as fate would have it, she actually has to do this thing called the Reckoning, which I won't spoil it for you. And this is her second time around to accomplish the Reckoning in the slave pod. And if she doesn't do it, she's not going to be around to tell any stories afterwards. So that is the inciting incident that takes her on the journey. And without giving too much away, the resistance, there's whispers of the resistance out there who want to overthrow the establishment. Like I said earlier, there's a percentage of people who have ingested the ashes from the nuclear fallout. They turn into zombies. And my zombies aren't the ones that just walk slowly and just kind of make noise. They actually work in packs. They hunt. They run in schools. They have leaders that they select. And then we also have hoarders who are kind of like the whole Mad Max theme, where they kind of ravage the land for resources. These people have gone a little bit nuts, and we do kind of dive into their ecosystem in the first book, where we get a little bit of a closer view on how they run their civilization and community. So that's actually really, really rewarding to dive in. And then last but not least, other people who have ingested the fumes from the nuclear fallout have special abilities and gifts, like with ESP and things like that. They have visions of the future, dreams. Those are called alphas. And lo and behold, Kisa is that. So she knows that now she has some type of a future that's vested in the survival of humanity. And whether or not she decides to go forward with that journey is basically what you're reading the book for. And spoiler alert, obviously she's going forward. She's our heroine to get behind. And with the comic book picks up exactly at the cliffhanger ending of book 1, which then leads us 6 weeks later into the events that happen in the graphic novel. So I'm really, really proud of it. The graphic novel just came out, so we haven't had a chance to get a lot of reviews and things like that on it just yet. We introduced it at one of our book signings that we did locally, and I'll be bringing that with the conventions next year. So I'm really, really excited for people to get their hands on it, because I think a lot of people are really digging the story. And like I said, that novella will be ready for next summer, and I'll be back with my partners over at Barnes & Noble again to kind of bring that to the people who picked up those novels before. So Broken, my challenge, Ryan, is always, I tell people, write your favorite story and then put it out. If you have a story in your head, write it for you. Make sure you love it first. Make sure it does everything that it needed to do for you as you read it, as you write it, and then give it to the world and let them play around with it and see what they think about it. But for me, with it being book 20, the challenge is always to write my next favorite book. And I feel like with Broken, I actually did that. So I'm very accomplished in my mindset that, hey, the more I keep writing, the more I keep delivering on the stories that I want to tell. And hopefully they have an impact on people that they really, really like what I'm doing.
Gee willikers, man. Mic drop and hashtag like a boss. I mean, that is just freaking awesome, man. That is awesome. That is awesome. And I am intrigued by this premise. I am intrigued by the storyline and the characters and what this world sets up, post-apocalyptic dystopian type future. Book of Eli, Denzel Washington kicking tail and taking names.
Yeah.
But fun fact for you, that movie turns 15 next year in the month of January, and we're going to be doing a 15th anniversary watch-along celebration of the Book of Eli, which to me is one of the better post-apocalyptic movies ever made in the history of filmmaking. And also Denzel's in it.
Come on.
So you're going to get a great performance, and you got a young up-and-coming at the time, Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
Gives a pretty good performance. You got Gary Oldman. Speaking of Batman,
Gary's a goat. He is great.
Gary is a mean, nasty son of a gun in Book of Eli as the antagonist of that story, if you remember correctly.
Yep.
So you might want to tune in and join us for that, Braxton. That's gonna
Yeah,
be
I would.
Yeah, Book of Eli is a great film, and it kind of relates to some of the stories you and your team over there are piecing together in your studio, in your circle of trust, the networks.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to you about that a little bit more so off camera. Make you an offer you can't refuse. With that being said, Braxton Cosby is our guest on this episode. Do not forget to like and share this. If you have any questions, drop them in those comments, leave them in the chat. And if you're joining us live on the replay, thank you for doing so. Outside of the event that was held at Barnes & Noble, do you have any other special memories from being at book signings or other conventions, whether you're there as a vendor or as an attendee?
Oh, man, I've had so many. I actually ran into D from Run DMC. He actually was at this one convention selling these cookies, and it was so cool. I just ran into him and ended up picking up a bag of his cookies. I will not open them up ever. I just have them as a little keepsake. So that was something really, really cool at the conventions. Also ran into Pam Grier at one of the conventions, and that was awesome. Always really cool to just kind of find the repeat fans that kind of picked up a book from one year and come back the next year. I had met a gentleman who picked up their Steel Rain comic, and then he came and he got in Steel Rain comic and novel at one convention. Came back the next year and he was like, "What you got this year? I just love your writing, so I know it's going to be good." And he ended up picking up Broken and the comic book at the time. So anytime we get those repeat fans and those people who love what we're doing, man, that's the biggest reward. What I am getting into now, which I'm really excited about, is the manga stuff. I've always been a pseudo anime fan. I won't say I'm one of those hardcore anime fans, but I have always watched it. Vampire Hunter D, Ninja Scroll, those are my favorites. Akira, of course, Dragon Ball Z. But And I love Robotech was my favorite of all time. All three. I have all three of the wars on DVD, even the little spinoff movie. And we partnered with Chris McCauley, who's written a lot of stuff in the Stokerverse. And he's entrusted us with his new series called Nexus Astrum, which is going to be continuing our series of hybrid publishing, novel, comic. And I have a team, Leo Rodriguez and his team of artists are doing an amazing job on our on the manga comic that's going to be accompanying the novel series for Chris. And if they go to our page, Starchild_comics on Instagram, they'll be able to see a lot of great teasers and things we're always showing about that. Big robots, big action, big anime, big heart story. People are going to love it. And so we're gearing up to continue to keep going to some of these anime fests and conventions next year. Obviously, MomoCon down here in Atlanta and Japan Fest and Anime Weekend. So we're really kind of digging our feet into the anime manga crew. So we also have ANVK, African Ninja Vampire Killers by author Kaio Champion. We've already got issue 1 of that out, and he's working on the script for issue 2. So hopefully we'll get that out before the end of 2025 also. And I've got a special project that I'm already working on that's based in historical fiction that's going to be manga as well. So we're just excited, just continuing to expand on what we've already have to offer for folks.
Jeez, you guys really are the 31 flavors of the indie comic circuit, aren't you? You got a little something for everybody in that mixture of yours with those ingredients that you've been mixing together, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, imagine if you and your team over there had I don't know if you've had a table at this event yet, but one of the biggest ones, if not the one of top 3 of them all in Georgia is Dragon Con.
I keep applying. I keep trying. Have yet to get in there though.
Man, just give him a gosh darn table, Dragon Con. Just do it.
Man.
I mean, pull Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do it. Do it. Come on, give me the table. I'm here.
I'm praying, man. I'd love to get a Dragon Con.
You need to get in at Dragon Con, man. That's one of the biggest shows in the world. I mean, that is a huge, massive show. My friend Bobby Nash in Georgia has a table there every year.
Yeah, I know Bobby Nash. Yeah.
You know Bobby Nash. You know this dude. All right, well, he's a cool guy. He's an indie writer. He does crime fiction, but he writes in so many different genres, too. I mean, Bobby Nash, he's got stories focusing on pulp characters, adventure type characters. He's got his Snow series with Abraham Snow. He's got the Tom Myers mystery series, which is about Sheriff Tom Myers, if you know what I mean, which is a homage to Longmire a little bit. You know, Abraham Snow to me is a wink and a nod to Burn Notice. I was on USA Network back in the day, which, by the way, I'm a huge Abraham Snow fan. So, Bobby, anytime you get fresh snow, and I'm talking about fresh snow in the books, not fresh snow as they may say in other formats, but I'm just saying, like, that fresh snow, man, is killer. I'm actually in the process of reading his latest installment within the Snow series called Snow. It's called Snow Hunt. So if you haven't read it, if you haven't heard of it, if you want to visit this, go to bobbynash.com. It's the best way to get a hold of him. All his links are there. His books are there. He actually puts together bookmarks now. He makes bookmarks and he makes door hangers. So if anyone's looking for a bookmark or a door hanger for yourself or a loved one, he puts together some fabulous ones. I'm using a Boba Fett one right now that says, "He's no good to me," bookmarked. So, you know, which reminds me, in your storyline of Steel Rain, the bounty hunter stories, does someone drop the line, "He's no good to me, dead"? Does anyone drop the Boba Fett line in there? Because if they did, that'd be a nice little wink and a nod.
I won't steal that one. But I do have a really, really cool line that I came up with.
Oh, do you?
One of the stories. Cloudy dust means something's moving. That's all I got to say.
Cloudy dust means something. Wow. Okay. That's JB Smooth right there, man. That's some smooth talking right there. You know what, man? I got to pick up this series because I like bounty hunters. I like criminal underworld type stories.
Rain. You would love Steel Rain. I wrote the Starcross Saga books 1, 2, and 3, Protostar, Supernova, and Solstice. Protostar was the first book. Ended up winning Reader's Favorite Book of the Year award for sci-fi romance. And so I finished it, but I introduced this bounty hunter named Steel Rain in book 3.
Book 3.
And if Solstice. And then people were always asking, like, "Hey, man, you know, bounty hunter is pretty cool. Why don't you go anywhere with that?" So I went ahead and wrote the story, his individual book that takes place right after he's done with what the events that happened in Solstice. And I wrote the novel. It ended up becoming an American Legacy Book Award finalist for science fiction. Wow. And I was like, man, you know, I feel like I wanted to have this little segue, a true segue between what happened in Solstice and the pickup that happens right at the beginning of book 1 with Still Rain, and that's where the comic book comes in. So the novel is called Flight of the Starship Concorde, Still Rain, but the comic is pre-flight. So before we actually get to the Starship Concorde in the novel. So man, I'm telling you, if you like Bounty Hunter series, you would be all over this.
Man, you gotta send me those links, son. Let's go. Like, I want to read this. I want to read the Young Hellion series because it's dystopian future type stuff. It's got not a whole, but it's got a little bit of a wink and a nod to Book of Eli, among other properties. But I'm down for it. I'm curious.
Yeah.
You know, what is it? Female protagonist doesn't bother me one bit. I think it's cool. It's badass, and her taking care of her little brother like that. You don't hear too many stories like that. So let's rock and roll with this, man. It's a good thing we have these links for you in the description of this video. Otherwise, I'd be DMing you every 5 seconds. Or maybe I will DM you after this show. We'll figure out some stuff then, because I'm going to invite you to come back and work on some other stuff with us, because I think you got some good stories to tell. And also, I think you're a fan of some of the same properties that I am, which makes perfect sense, which means Braxton and I are becoming fast friends over here in the studio, which is great, because the more connections we have and the more we work together as a team, we can do whatever we can accomplish great things as a team. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely.
For show. To this day. Anyway, sorry, I've seen one too many videos with that guy saying "to this day." And it's funny because someone posted this months and months ago of, this is one of the best theme songs. It's 30 years later. This theme song is still a banger. Do you agree? And it's the guy saying "to this day." To this day, and it's the Power Rangers theme song.
Right.
I'm like, of course it is, because I was there in '93 when that thing premiered. I was there. So, and that theme song still kicks, because look at X-Men. The same guy who composed Power Rangers composed the theme song for X-Men and a whole bunch of other properties. And I'm talking about Ron Wasserman. Ron Wasserman is a badass mamma jamma. And we've had the pleasure of interviewing him right here on this very show that you're watching and listening to right now. It's on our Power Ranger Nerds playlist on our channel. So you can go back and watch that footage, man. Because Ron Wasserman's got some cool stories, you know, for show, as one might say. Because music is the language of the soul. And if you have a great theme song for a show, it just makes it even better.
It really is. If you can connect with anybody, friends, especially someone with music, you guys got something. You really do.
To be perfectly honest with you, that's a valid statement that Braxton Cosby just made on, and I quote, "You're exclusive." Do not forget to like and share with all your friends. If you got any questions, let us know in the comments. And if you're watching this live or what is known as a replay, thank you so much for doing so. In the meantime, our questions are provided by our good friends at poddex.com. They want to know, what are most people afraid of that doesn't scare you? And this could be anything. You can take this question however you want.
I feel like there's something there. Let me see.
Okay.
I'm not afraid to swim. I mean, a lot of people are afraid to swim. You ever run into people like, I don't swim? I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I swim like a fish.
Okay.
Always have.
So you're kind of like Aquaman. Arthur Curry, maybe?
Or Atlantis, which is a character from my Cape series. See the plug?
Hey. Okay, that's another series I got to read, because I'm always been well, granted, I know Atlantis is a character, but at the same time, the mysteries surrounding the land of Atlantis and everything else, I've always been fascinated by the mysteries of Atlantis. I really have. I'm not even kidding you. So if anyone knows, aside from what Braxton Cosby is putting out, which stuff I'm going to read from you, by the way.
Thank you.
If anyone has any good Atlantis type stories that I should look at, please let me know or send me a DM, because I've always been fascinated by the mystery of Atlantis. Always. Really have. I mean, I remember seeing the Disney movie Atlantis Lost Empire with Michael J. Fox, the animated movie. That was fun, but it didn't really explore too much about Atlantis. It was more focusing on Milo and what he was doing and finding that love interest who was a young lady who was a native of Atlantis, which is great. I don't mind a romance storyline, but I want to know more about this, like the culture, the landscape, what it was about, how many people lived there, how smart were they, what were their plans for humanity? Like, all this stuff is just fascinating to me. So if anyone has any good Atlantis stuff, slide into the DMs, send me a link, whatever it is. Let Braxton and I know, because now you got me curious. Great answer for that, by the way, when it comes to swimming and you're not afraid to do it. So what's the most creative excuse to get out of doing something you didn't want to do?
Something I didn't want to do and I had to be creative. What's the most creative thing? Writing.
Okay.
I've got some writing to do. I won't be able to. I've had friends like, hey man, we're getting together Thursday night to play some games. And I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, 8:00. I know I need to do it, but I just got this crazy idea that came up, and I've already been outlining it all day. And I feel like if I don't jump in and actually bullet point this first chapter, I'm going to lose it. So that's been my excuse of not playing games, and my friends get upset. But duty calls, man. We got one man army over here. If I don't do it, nobody's going to.
That's fair. Fair excuse. Fair way to get out of a bit of a jam there. So completely understandable. Do you put up a boundary in any area of your life to keep people out? And you don't have to answer this if you don't feel comfortable. We can always move on to the next one.
No, you have to. You have to put up a lot of boundaries. Time, man. Time management. I mean, okay. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a track coach.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm a physical therapist. I'm a writer.
Say what?
Yeah.
Jeez.
There's no way I could do any of this stuff if I didn't put up time boundaries. And unfortunately, you got to be able to cut people off when they're kind of talking. Everybody has a story to tell, but sometimes you got to cut that off and move on. So my time is so valuable to me now. I've learned it more the longer I go at this, the older I get. Time is very, very valuable. So I've got to have time barriers of giving people a certain amount of time and how much personal space you let people into. Not all your stories need to be told and shared, and not everybody has the right or the entitlement to hear your story. Some of them are very personal, so I keep a lot of stuff close to the chest, and what I'm telling you, I'm okay with you understanding and hearing. You know what I mean? So yeah, time is really valuable to me.
Tempus fugit, time is fleeting. Very true. See, there's an old saying going back to the Lara Croft Tomb Raider days. And not just the video games either. I made a good investment in watching the Angelina Jolie iteration back in 2001. Yeah.
When she punched the shark, though, I was done. I gotta be honest.
I know that was the second one, though. I'm talking about the first one. The first one's solid. The second one is kind of a bit of a mess. And then they rebooted it with Alicia Vikander, which that had potential because it was based off the reboot video game that came out for Xbox and PS4, whatever it was. And that was good. The reboot was okay, but the game that they took the liberties from, or took inspiration from, I should say, was very good. And at the end of the movie with Alicia Vikander, I thought to myself, you know what? This reboot wasn't perfect, but it has potential, and I want to see what a sequel could do. And unfortunately, they waited too long. The rights got reverted back to Amazon or MGM, whatever it was, or MGM sold them off to Amazon. And it's in a huge legal mess right now. Alicia Vikander came out not too long ago and said, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen now with me. The rights are tied up. I don't know what's going on. I'm not involved. It's not my problem anymore. I'm moving on to other projects, which, let's face it, Alicia Vikander is a great actress. She can do whatever she wants, so let her go.
Right.
Let her go. But you can get someone in there to play Lara Croft. It's not that hard. You just got to find the right actress. Find a new up-and-coming actress, preferably, because
please
stop casting these A-list people in every single movie. Just let new actors come in and play Lara Croft, which I don't have a problem with, because to me, Alicia Vikander was pretty much well known at the point that she starred in hers. But at the same time, I didn't really know too much about her.
Right.
But when I saw her in Lara Croft, I'm like, dang, this girl buffed up for this movie, man. Like, look at those shoulder blades. Like, if you sit, like, she was doing, massive push-ups and chin-ups. And I'm like, dang, she took this role seriously.
Yeah.
Which I respect in any actor or actress who does that in Hollywood. I just want to point that out there as a for instance. Here's an interesting one from poddex.com. Would you rather, here's one. Would you rather have a cool boss and learn nothing at all, or a strict boss who you learn from?
Strict boss all day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like every day that we have on this planet is not promised to us. I feel like, again, going back to that time is valuable, of the essence kind of thing. And I feel like, there's only two sides to the coin for me. I either win or I learn. I don't lose. So even in those instances where I'm dealing with difficult situations, circumstances, challenges, I'm constantly saying, okay, God, what do you want me to learn on this? What do you want me to learn while I'm going through this? There's something here. There's something to glean and take away from it. And so if I've got that strict boss who's on me and they're constantly kind of changing the rules of the game, or things are getting manipulated in a certain way, I go, okay, God's redirecting me to do this now. So how do I do it? And how does it best suit me? What's my benefit from going along with this? So that's the way I look at it. So so I would rather take that boss that's going to be used by God to give me what I need to for the foreseeable future, to do something greater than what I'm doing right now, than somebody who's just going to slack off, let me slack off, and then we just end up doing absolutely nothing and going nowhere.
The Force is strong with this one. I'm just gonna say it. Dude, you're a master Jedi. You're kicking tail and taking names, Braxton. No question. Honestly, I mean, dude, seriously, you're just knocking it out of the park with these questions, and you're just knocking it out of the park in general with your storytelling and the team that you've been working with all these years, and you're continuing to do it too. So, hey, more power to you. What is one surefire way to grab your attention?
Ooh, story, man. Give me something fresh, something I haven't heard of. I tell authors all the time, we've been in business since 2014. We've never put up a general submission because we go through referrals. People say, hey, I know this guy who wrote a book for you guys. He said he really liked working with you. Can you read mine? I have a friend, something like that comes around, and then I'll end up reading. I tell them, say, send me the first 3 chapters and a synopsis. I normally look at the synopsis. Then I start from chapter 1. If you can get me to go into the second page, you got something going. If you give me one to the second chapter, I know it's really, really hot. So story. I'm not as impressed with big action pieces as much as I am just like there's a real soul of a story there that I feel like I can connect with. I feel like other readers might connect with. And if you're an artist, man, your use of colors and lighting and shading is everything. So those are the 2 things that catch my eye when it comes down to submissions and taking on projects.
Absolutely fair enough, good sir. Good stuff. Man, this man is on fire. In more ways than one. You know what, Braxton? You are so money and you don't even know it.
Woo! I like that.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew the reference, but there was a little indie film back in '96. Movie turns 30 in less than 2 years from now, which is insane. It's called Swingers with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. So in that rom-com of a movie, they say to each other, you are so money and you don't even know it. You're like, bear, man, which is their way of saying you're a great person. You have a lot of things going for you. You need to go after this thing, whatever you're trying to accomplish. Just do it. Just go after it because you're great. They're basically telling their friends, in between friends, they're saying you're a great person. You got this. You're going to be fine.
Thanks.
Like, don't sweat it. You know what I mean?
I got a quote for you. I like the one, and I'm not. Fast and Furious is what it is.
True, but there are some good installments out there. So
I did. There are a few out of the 10 that I actually enjoyed.
Wait, there are 10? Wait, what?
Yeah.
There are 10? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but the one line I tell my track kids all the time: ride it like you stole it.
Oh, jeez. Good Lord, you have to pick that one? Are you serious? I thought you were going to tell him the speech in the first half of the first movie where he says, ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile.
Yeah.
Winning's winning.
That's a good one. I like that too.
Yeah, but, you need to drop that on your track team.
I like
man.
that one. I'm gonna pull that one up.
Yeah, that's a Dom Toretto speech. That's a Toretto speech.
This season on January 6th, I'm gonna drop that one.
There you go. Right after the new year, get on it, son. I mean, seriously, it don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
I love it.
You almost had me. You never had me. You never had your car.
That's good.
Driving granny not double clutching like you should. Oh man. That's a good speech that he gives in the first movie, man. That's the original right there. Like that's OG 2001 footage right there. You need to go back and watch that, man.
Yeah.
It's a good film. Great. I like the first one. I'll be honest with you. This is going to sound like a hot take here on the air, but I'm going to say it anyway. I love the first one. I like the second one. I really like the third one, Tokyo Drift, because that's strictly who is the best. It's not about stealing, electronics equipment, whatever it is. It's about who is the man. In the words of our good friend Nature Boy Ric Flair, to be the man, you have to beat the man. Absolutely. So in Tokyo Drift, it's about Sean beating DK. Donkey Kong? No, Drift King.
Right.
And speaking of Drift King, I actually had the pleasure of meeting the actor who played Drift King in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Met him at a convention. There was no one at his booth. Walked up to him. I said, "Hey, I just want to tell you, I really loved your performance in Tokyo Drift. It's my favorite installments of the franchise because it's strictly about street racing. It's not about stealing things. It's not about getting the girl, whatever it is. It's about who is the best in the world. It's a competition. I love that." And he appreciated that too. He really appreciated that. Signed a 8x10 for me. We got a pro photo op together. It was great. It's on our social media pages. You can go back. It's going way back though. This was like years ago, and he was great. Brian T, I believe is his name. So
you got to put it at the top.
Yeah. I can do that, or I can go into my Instagram, scroll all the way down, and then send it to you, so you can take a look at that because that was fun. He's a great guy. He's a very nice man. I wish he would do more conventions though, because I don't see him doing too many cons nowadays, which is unfortunate because he's a nice dude and he's done other stuff besides Tokyo Drift. But to me, Tokyo Drift is my favorite performance of his. But yeah, so I like Tokyo Drift and I like Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6 are just awesome.
5 and 6 were great.
Oh my goodness, dude! When you get Hobbs in there, man, and you get Gina Carano was in the 6th one, which is insane. Because I remember watching Gina Carano as a Crush on American Gladiators. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
I do. I love American Gladiators.
Okay, so when she showed up as Crush, I'm like, yep, I'm digging this woman. Anyway, sorry, we can go on another off the rails conversation later. But I got to tell you, this has been a great episode, great way to end the year of 2024 for And I Quote. Braxton, thank you so much for being here, man. It was great to see you, great to meet you, great to hear more about your stories, the things you're putting out.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, the creative team you got working with you, which teamwork makes the dream work in all senses of the word, for sure. But Braxton, if someone wants to know more about you or purchase some of your stories, your comics, the books, whatever else, or keep up to date with some of the appearances or some of the other things that you and your creatives over there are going to be doing in 2025, because 2025 is right around that corner of Know Your Role Boulevard and Jabroni Drive. So if they want to know more about you, where can they follow you?
www.cosbymediaproductions with an S.com. You can also catch us on Instagram at Cosby Media Productions or Starchild_comics. Catch me on Braxton A. Cosby on Instagram as well. If you go to Cosby Media Productions, you'll be able to easily click on our icons for Instagram, X, and Facebook, and just follow us. We've got our announcements on there, our storefront. If you want to buy any of our comic books, that we can, we'll have them shipped directly to you, signed. And if you wanted to see anything as far as our announcements, our social media, anything that we have that's linked to our big newsletter, you can actually sign up for the newsletter as well. And we send that out about every week to kind of give people updates on our latest books that are coming out. The Fab Five, the Cape issue number 2 just dropped on the 17th. It's live on the Kindle. If you want to pick it up on Amazon, if you want to pick up a copy from the site, just go to our storefront and pick it up. We also have Chris McCauley's latest book, Oddfellow Investigations, Book 1, The Devil's Ledger, will be dropping on Christmas Eve. We've already got pre-order link up on Amazon, so feel free to go ahead and click on that when you get to the website as well, and go ahead and pick that up. That's going to be great. It's going to be coming to a TV station near you in the future.
Something tells me Braxton and his team don't sleep.
Sleep is because of the death.
I've not heard that one before, but
you can have it. It's free.
Gee whiz. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm going to add that to the end of every video from now on. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to take anything away from Braxton. He gets all the credibility. Braxton, it was great to see you, man. Congratulations. Wish you the best in the holiday season and the new year with you and your family, your loved ones, your team, all the people down there in the great state of Georgia.
Yes.
Because Bobby Nash is from Georgia, and a few of our other friends live down in the great state of Georgia. So I'm going to have to visit you guys and hang out. And,
absolutely.
Maybe buy some books or, just hang out, go to a convention together and live it up, man.
All day, man. Thank you.
You should. I haven't been to Georgia in an awfully long time. I had family down there a long time ago, but they moved to a different state now. So I got more reasons to visit Georgia.
Yeah. And Atlanta Comic-Con is always fun too.
I've heard about that as well. That's another show I hope to check out at some point or another in my future, because I've been going to conventions for 12 years and I want to keep continuing that and exploring that. So, oh boy, 2025. There's so many plans that you and I have. Whew.
Let's do it.
It's going to be a heck of a year, man. Buckle your seatbelt. It's going to be one heck of a wild ride. I'm going to be talking to you here again here momentarily, so don't go anywhere, Braxton. My name is Ryan of And I Quote Channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram personally at RyanRPM5. It's where am I pointing to? Yeah, it's right there on that name tag. Sorry. You can also follow us across all forms of social media simply at And I Quote Channel. Thank you so much for being a part of this. This is, in fact, our final episode of And I Quote for 2024, but fear not. We will be back in the new year of 2025 after we take some time to celebrate holidays and festivities with our loved ones, our friends, our families, and all that jazz. By the way, we are on the road to 5,000. That's right, 5,000 subscribers. And I want to update you and update Braxton on this as well. We have now reached 1,302 subscribers on this channel. So 1,300, it's a great number. I know we can reach 5,000. Here pretty soon. I know we can do it. We work together as a team, like Braxton and I were talking about earlier. You do this stuff together, you can accomplish so many great things in your life and your career. So Help us reach that goal, because once we do, go through a great big live stream celebration that will include special giveaways that you, our incredible viewers and subscribers, are going to be eligible to win. Braxton may make an appearance and say hello to us. Maybe give us an update on some of the stories he's got coming out soon or at that time period, depending on what's going on. Braxton, you are invited, by the way. That's your free invite right there. It's an open-ended invitation. See, he just gave me a thumbs up in the backstage area, which means he's in. Also, we have links in our social media bios for merch. We have hats, we have shirts, we have hoodies. The seasons are changing. It's got a little cold out there. I don't know how it's going for you in Hotlanta, but it is freezing up here in the Northeast. So grab yourself some hoodies, get yourself some shirts. We got stickers. We have stickers that you can put on your water bottles, which you can see there in this image here. We also have coffee mugs, and we have throw pillows and stationery, some notepads for you that you may want to use when you're putting together outlines for a story, Braxton. Wink, wink. Because outlines are important, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you keep those in the back of your mind. But once again, thank you so much for a great year, great season, all things considered. This has been a great year of growth for this channel. I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you for liking, commenting, sharing out our videos, subscribing to the channel, telling your friends about us. We got new episodes of Anti-Quote coming in 2025. We got movie anniversary watch-alongs, which includes The Book of Eli. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990 turns 35, Braxton, 35, okay? Batman Begins turns 20. Empire Strikes Back turns 45. Force Awakens turns 10, okay? Force Awakens turns 10. There's a plethora, that's an SAT word right there, of movies that are celebrating anniversaries. And we're going to be doing that. We're going to be celebrating all those films and more right here on this channel that you are watching or listening to right now. We also have special plans for top 10 MCU movies for 2025. MCU, that's an interesting topic, Braxton. Also, top 10 favorite films of the 1980s is going to be coming up in 2025. Top 10 favorite films of the 90s is coming up in 2025. I'm thinking that a few of you who've been on this show before, maybe even Braxton's want to jump in on these lists. I don't know. Does he like films from the 80s and 90s? Probably. I don't know. We'll find out later. But once again, thank you so much. Appreciate all your support. We cannot do this without you. Do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when our videos go up or they go live. And remember, life is better when supporting your favorite indie creators from all over the world. Take a look at this.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Hey guys, you're watching Ryan's channel, and I quote, "You channel, I just wanted to send a special shout out that you guys will continue to embrace the nerd within." This is Tracy Lynn Cruz, in case you don't know, Ashley from Power Rangers in Space and Power Rangers Turbo. I just want to let you know, thank you so much for all of your support. Ryan's amazing, and I quote your channel, amazing. You guys keep on morphing and embrace the nerd within.
Good morning. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.